Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to ERA Sunday Championship Round 5 as we get closer and closer to the end of our first season for 2026. And this time out, we have gone all the way to America. We have gone to one of the most famous circuits, one of the most challenging circuits, and in nearly every single sim that has come out has been the circuit you learn first. Welcome to Laguna Seca. This 3.6 kilometer track with 11 corners that opened up in 1957 has been the home of GT and has been the home of prototype racing. It's also been one of the mainstays if you want to go fighting out in Can-Am racing, and was also where it set the stage for McLaren to come out with some interesting machinery. Shadow fought it out, but Porsche was the one that put the bullet in the chamber and pulled the trigger. Laguna Seca has a very interesting run because the corkscrew adds to the elevation change on the circuit. 55 meters of elevation change here, and the driver's going to have to cope with that for round 5. But we got to see a little bit of in the light, and we're going to be racing into with the dark. And this is going to be some hard braking zones. It's going to be fast corners, zero room for mistakes, trusting the headlights, and the drivers using a lot of muscle memory. Let's head down to the circuit as our drivers are starting their qualifying session, and we are kicking things off with our gold division. Ready to have some fun out there. Now, a quick rundown for our gold division in terms of the championship. Lewis Knight leads the championship on 43 points. David Young sits in second place with 42 points. Rich van Heerd sitting in third. Finn van Holland, Nicholas Paris, and Patrick Bells, along with Chris Haneke, Aaron Schergel, and Nico Lawrence in 9th. Finley Gamble rounds out in 10th place, along with Paula Scaleras, Nick Neville, Federico Calgero, Cedric Muir, Darren Christie, Ulrich Diago, who got on screen at the moment, lying in 16th, Bram Cox in 17th, Diego Matos, Christian Fengler, along with Hayter in 20th, Benjamin Till, who goes by Dr. Bean because he is going and running a little bit of an alias, but everyone tends to know Benjamin Till, as he is one of the drivers that you want to keep an eye on all the way out in races in South Africa. Christoph Rolotsky rounds out the championship in 22nd. So, at the top of the cards, third place in the championship, and first at the moment with a 123.3 is Rich van Heerd, and he is hoping to keep the momentum moving forward. The question is, how is he going to cope with this? I had a chat with him earlier today. Well, it was actually earlier this weekend. He was spotted at Zwartkops Raceway. I said to him, listen, you come from a real-world racing background. You get to fight out against overseas competition here in the ERA Sunday Championship. You have a chance for your first ever sim racing championship. You have been fighting out for years to get this, and now it is your opportunity to go and grab that victory. Is the pressure going to get to you? And the first thing he said was, well, we've got some stiff competition in the gold division. They're insanely quick, and we tend to get mixed up with the platinum and the diamond drivers quite quickly. He's feeling confident for Laguna Seca, as it's a track he knows very well, but he's going to have to get his elbows out tonight because he feels the Ferrari just lacks that little bit of pace. Ulrich Diaga, who puts himself into first place with the BMW, is showing that it is going to be a BM stronghold at the top, with Nicholas sitting in second place. Benjamin Till is down into third place. He's running under Dr. Bean once again. That alias coming into play. And we have got David Young hunting down in fourth. Rich van Heerd down into fifth. Patrick Bells in sixth, along with Finn van Holland, Lewis Knight, Federico Calgero a little bit further down, Paula Scaleras and Darren Christie. Diego Matos, remember, hasn't had much time out on the circuit in the season, and the Stunt Possum Racing team are looking to really drive forward on this. Diego Matos, if you want to go and point out, on last season was in a Mustang. So the transition from a Mustang to an Audi R8 is incredibly big. That Audi R8 Evo LMS GT3 and goes and fights his way around. I always wonder, why do we have such long names? Well, when you got amazing stuff. It's Patrick at the top, currently with a 122.6.1 of a second faster over Ulrich de Jager. Is BMW lockout 1-2-3 at the moment. Nicholas hanging in there with the Porsche, has got the 2 Ferraris behind him. But our gold division have only 10 minutes to make it work and will be really, really battling their way through and seeing how it's going to be an interesting run. They've got 10 minutes to set the qualifying time. If they can't get the time in, well, they're going to have to wait that little bit more. We have got a little bit of interesting thoughts coming in from drivers. Sebastian Luxen actually going and jumping in and saying his graphics card is running pretty hot at the moment, and that is going to be a concern. They have got a cooling issue, but they're trying everything they can to keep it going. So Sebastian Luxen for Race for Mental Health. Hopefully we'll have a chat to him a little bit later as well. But I'd prefer him to see the end of the race. But already a cooling issue. And this is not an only factor. Even here in South Africa, I was having a chat to a couple of the drivers saying, listen, they've also got a similar problem where the temperature, the ambient temperature is running a little bit high. And that means the internal temperatures are just skyrocketing. They have to be well enough aware of it. For others, it's going to be an interesting one. Lewis Knight, who is looking to clinch 4 victories. And to take you back for the Good Smile Racing team, going back 3 championships, Brands Hatch, all he needed to do was stay in for the podium. And unfortunately, it all went wrong where he got mixed up with the Platinums, got turned around, and then got lapped by the end of it, taking away that championship hope. He remembers it. And when I spoke to Lewis Knight and I asked him, what is the game plan? He says, I won't lose it this time. This is mine, and I'm going to have the biggest smile come the end of the championship. However, there is always that concern of losing that little bit of pace. Anyone that moves forward in the championship gets into the top 3 will be moved up into the Platinum for next season. That everyone wants to be promoted. No one wants to be relegated. So, as we got Patrick at the moment, leading the top with a 122. Let's take a look at Lewis and actually take a look on board with him, because this is off the helmet cam and you can see how hard he's having to work with the car, especially trying to power his way through in the dark. You're literally looking at the headlights and it's down to muscle memory, and this corkscrew is a roller coaster on the way down, and you're having to try and just figure out where you're going to go. How are you going to have a little bit of fun here? And it's down to muscle memory. But for everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, a massive, massive welcome to you all. Antonio Gamble saying, how's it? Good to see you out there. And also, Ruin Heineke. And big shout out to Ruin Heineke. Saw you with the SAES saying, how's it? And it's lovely to see you going and keeping an eye on everything. It's always fantastic to see the support coming in. But there is Lewis Knight up to the top with a 122.5, 18 seconds left of qualifying. I do also want to go and give a shout out not only to those in the virtual grandstand out on YouTube, but also to our virtual grandstand, being the likes of our commentary booth. We got JJ that's joining us. We'll try and get some information from him as well. He's being a great spectator, following in with all of it. And we have got in-car communication. And yes, I am going to drag him up here because Henry Platt, just to get an idea of how dark it is out there. Let's see if we can get Henry Platt to come up and have a chat to us, as our Platinums will be starting to head out onto the circuit to get themselves ready for their first flyers. And are we going to get Henry Platt to have a chat? Or is Henry going to be heading out onto the circuit? I think Henry is out on the circuit. Yep, there's Henry Platt. So, Henry out on circuit. We'll try and get hold of him after he has gone and done his qualifying, and he is part of the Moscow Motorsports, driving a BMW. His team did rather well in South Africa, but Henry Platt is one to keep a very, very close eye on. He has been really scoring those podium positions, but also has had some fall downs. Now, let's take you through the Platinum Championship, because we've got Sebastian Luxen out in first place and is worrying with a temperature issue at the moment. He's sitting on 45 points. Ricky Buckler sitting on 39 points in second place. He had a terrible outing at Spa, and it's a circuit that he really enjoys. Unfortunately, wasn't able to see it to the line. I know the Griffin Sim Racing team really sat down with the driver, talked him through and said, right, what can we do? Let's try and figure out the plan. I think for Ricky at the moment, he's really quick, he's really talented, but just needs that little bit of a hand on the shoulder to say, calm down, you got this, focus up, and think this through. And also, to run the same mentality. If you see the green, you gotta see the checker. Every point counts for the championship. Henry Platt is in third place in the championship, scored at Watkins Glen, no score at Suzuka, and scored at Spa. They're holding on to third with 34 points, only 2 points behind him is the likes of Neil Cabal, along with Miles Stone, Chris Wall, Martin Spritzer, Andre Sorodia, Daniel Mutsuma, who we've seen him taking the fight to the likes of Chris Wall on numerous occasions, and Paul Fenter getting into it. So Daniel going and making a bit of friends with the logistical nightmare racing team, but he's hoping to keep ahead of Paul Fenter. He's 2 points ahead of him. David Roth, Simon Cusat, Isam Domingo, Freddie Morelli, along with Kurt Reynolds, Arul Jar, Flo Scub, and Lucas Collab round out our platinum in terms of our standings. So, eyes to the front with Sebastian Luxon, and we do know about a possible problem that they may run into. A 122.5 to beat, and Ricky at the moment putting in a great bit of pace with his car. The Griffin Sim Racing team have been talking to him. The question is, how much discussion has been walking around in the Griffin Sim Racing team? Well, Ricky's going to be the first one to put a time on the board, and he comes across with a 123.0, bumping him up to 7th position. Sebastian Luxon is following Henry Platt through as they come across the line. Henry up into 6th. Sebastian with a 122.5 up into 2nd place, right behind Lewis Knight. Remember, Lewis Knight did a 122.532. Sebastian, a 122.570. Paul Fenter trying to get the drive up as well and see where he's going to work out in this run. Interesting times up ahead, that is for certain. Chris Wall up into 8th place, going to be carrying a lot of momentum through. I do want to also touch on, Chris Wall is a driver that at one stage of the game got extremely frustrated. Lots and lots of frustration, anger towards it, losing interest in sim racing. Streams his races as well, and I do want to point out, is a driver that has matured over time, relaxed, even to the point of wearing a vest while he is driving, just to keep himself cool, calm, collected. He has his moments, but is enjoying the sport, and by just doing that by himself, Chris Wall has definitely improved. Yes, consistency has been a bit rocky here and there. Race is not playing his hand, but I do want to take my hat off to the driver, as listening to him, you can hear how he's matured in his sim racing journey and how he is keeping an eye on things. Also, being a little bit of a mentor to those that are new in the sport. So a big shout out to him on that one. Paul Fenter coming across the line now, going and really stepping up the pace, hoping to get into the 122s. And he does get into 5th place with a 122.7, trying to carry the momentum through. Paul Fenter, not too long ago, getting to relive a bit of motorsport history, and was sitting in Rich Van Heerder's car at the circuit of Red Star, and got to relive some history from his past and his father's past that really meant quite a bit to him. So the second generation driver, more than happy about that. Ricky trying to get that little bit more of a push. Now, a real job as a driver that we haven't spoken much about, this time in a 488 Ferrari, but this was a gold champion driver in last season and was doing an incredible job. Unfortunately, change of car just seems to be a little bit off at the moment for him, but keep an eye on Arul at the moment. I don't think we have seen the last of it. He's going to be pushing harder and harder, and towards the end of the season, there's little to lose for him, and we'll be focusing on just moving forward. Milestone, big hats off to the driver that has been helping more and more in the background of ERA, giving a bit of insight of what needs to be done, and also got a wicked sense of humor, might I add. Keeping an eye on his mates that are racing at the same time. One of our American drivers, and some of the very few American drivers we get to have here in ERA. We'd love to see a lot more coming in and participating with us, being part of the show. Sebastian Luxon at the moment, currently 2nd place. And take a look at the time. He's trying to get that a little bit quicker. how it's all going to work out is going to be up to Paul. He's got Henry Platt to contend with at the moment. Henry sitting in third place with a 122.572 to the likes of Sebastian Lucasen, 122.570. So lots and lots of interesting running there. Paul Fetzer currently up on his personal best. He did a 122.7. Last lap was 124. But it's Miles Stone that shoots his way to the top and puts in a absolute banger in the dark. A 122.460. And what a great run on his part to move forward and see where it's going to go. And just taking a look out into the virtual grandstands, Ruben Heineke is quite happy with his drivers going and putting on a great show. But we also got the likes of Soup that has got a bit of popcorn as well. Well, welcome to the dark side as Henry Platt gets right behind Miles Stone. Sets a 122.525. A good run for Henry Platt. Paul Fenter up 0.3 on his personal best. He's going to try and get a good one across the line and see if he can take the fight to the front. And he moves up into third place. Sebastian Lucasen now needs to try and dial up the wick at the moment. See where he can make that little bit of a jump. A real jar along with David Roth, who is waiting in pit lane. David Roth's decided, I've got my time on the board. That's what I feel that the Honda can do right now. I'm going to concentrate on the race. Flo Scub is also a driver I take my hat off to. The Los Pantos Hermanos is all about the Three Ducks. They've created the story. I love using the yellow Rexy getting assisted by the Duck. But also, Flo Scub is a driver that doesn't quit even when he is at the back end of the field. We've seen him come from the back all the way towards the front on more than one occasion, and he's looking to do that yet again. So I'll take my hat off to him, but he's got a lot of hard work on his hat. Ricky currently 0.1 up on his time. Chris Wall, no improvement on his as yet, as the drivers are running out of time. They have literally got a minute and a half to get an absolute banger in, but Sebastian Lucasen, the current leader of the championship, fires back with a 122.3, and he gets beaten out by Henry Platt, and that is just by 0.4 of a second. Henry Platt boots it across the line. He's able to get it up towards the top. Miles Stone is going to be next to try and get a little bit of momentum. Paul Fenter up into second, even closer in times. Our Platinums are running neck and neck at the moment with lap times. I do highly suspect we're in for an absolute treat amongst them all. I know Henry's going to be keeping an eye on, and the question is he going to go out for one more lap time, or are we going to be able to get him into the commentary just to give a little bit of a taste test of what is actually, how difficult it is out on circuit. Well, Miles Stone currently the fastest on circuit, boots it across the line, up into first with a 121.9, and that has got a few of our pros quaking in the boots. Daniel Mutsuma up into 8th place. Managed to do 122.6. Ricky trying to fire back at the moment. One corner to go. Is he going to have enough to really make it work for him? Ricky booting it all the way through, coming towards the line, and shoots across. 122.7 on his last, and 122.5 this time round. Chris Wall currently 0.2 up on his time to see how it goes to move forward up through the order. So we're going to see if we can get Henry to possibly give us a bit of an idea. And I know he is busy with the car. Henry, welcome to the commentary box. We got in-car radio with you right now. How is the conditions out there at Laguna Seca? And also, with the time so close in the Platinums. Okay, we got him muted at the moment. There we go.
Okay, let me just get the buttons here.
There we go.
Yeah, it's very close. I'm glad I got onto the first row for the Platinum guys. Wow, what a lap from Mr. Stone there. But the car felt good. Obviously, with the colder temps, the car is a bit faster. So yeah, I could have done better, but I'm not too disappointed.
Now, take us through Laguna Seca in the dark. What's going to be the biggest challenge you can think of? Is see Ricky getting out of shape and unfortunately not able to get the lap in. Our Diamonds are heading out on circuit, but what is going to be the corner that you feel that's going to be the one to watch out for? We all know about the corkscrew, but we've got to remember how dark it is out there.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's probably just trying to stay far ahead, enough far ahead of the guy behind you so they don't get any sniffs of diving you. I think the biggest problem here is people diving each other when it's not on. So yeah.
All right, and one final thing before I let you go, to have a chat to all the crew that are looking after your car, looking after you, the Moscow Motorsports that are keeping an eye on the sim racing. What is your game plan? This is the third last round of the championship. You're running in third. Richard Van Heed's in there. You've got Lewis Knight. You've got Sebastian Lucasen that's having a go. I mean, this is an interesting one. Sebastian, Ricky, yourself, that's the top three. Neil's not too far off the back of you. Miles Stone is not too far off the back of you. What's the game plan for tonight, and what's the game plan for the next 2 rounds?
Well, without saying too much, I think I'll have to do something special tonight because I've got that 15-second success penalty. So I'm going to try something, but you'll see.
All right, fair enough. And a bit of a sneak question coming in here, and I know it's a bit of a loaded one as well. Are we going to see the Bentley getting retired after the season and a BMW coming in? We do know that your team in real world racing is all about the BMW car club. You're in a Bentley which has no relation to any BMW. Are we going to see the transition, or is it going to be keep to what you know and had success with?
Yes, now that I'm actually racing for Moscow Motorsports, I'll definitely move over to the BMW next season.
I'm looking forward to seeing you in the M6.
Cool, man.
It's better than the M4. It's better looking. That's all I can say. Well, Henry Platt going and giving us a bit of full thoughts of what's happening, and it's wonderful to have that little bit of communication down for our drivers. But let's take a look at our diamond drivers, because Christoph Peterson, our multiple-time champion, has gone out. He's got 8 heading into 9 championships under his belt, and he is currently leading out on 50 points. That being said, tied on points after the drop round is Rafa Sosa, tied on 50 points. Keep an eye out on Rafa. Don't count him out of the running. Ernest Lindbergh sits on 47 points. He's holding third, with Jason Beam in fourth. He missed out Spa, so he's going to be really trying to dial it up. Ben Hicks is involved. He's missed out Silverstone. Watkins Glen made his debut back, returning into the world of ERA Sunday Championship. Wonderful to have him back, the ERA Highway Patrol. He took the victory at Suzuka, a little bit down at Spa. He sits on 28 points, tied with Sean Skitter, who we see currently on circuit with the Honda NSX, or as later known as the Acura as well. Sean Skitter is on 28 points. That is 8 points ahead of Darius in 7th. Stephen Milano James, unfortunately, missed out Suzuka and Spa a little bit further down. Mahith Musa hasn't had the easiest of seasons this time round. Missed out Suzuka, but has kept it going. He's tied in points with Stephen Milano James, sitting in 9th position. Bego Krobler, a little bit further down along with Jason Farmer, Ruin Heineke, and Michael Castro rounding up. I do want to point out that Ruin Heineke is the very few of the diamonds that hasn't had the best of seasons, but I want to take my hats off to the chap because he has kept going and has seen every race to the end, regardless of what goes on. So, Ernest Lindbergh's, we've seen him get multiple victories here at Laguna Seca, and now look, he tried to do it again. Currently set with a 121.4 leading out. He's got his teammate, Christoph Peterson, chasing him down in second place. Teammates, yet rivals. And then Rafa Sosa, the new driver to the field, is looking to really make it work. The Apex Predator is chasing down the likes of Peterson in for the points here. Debut run in ERA, and now looking on his debut to take the championship. Stephen Milano James out in 4th place for the Cyber Racing team, and I know there is going to be lots and lots of looking in for the Cyber Racing team. They want to hope to keep things up in check. Jason Farmer, and man oh man, since Watkins Glen, his heart has been ripped out, but he's trying to make it work for him here at Laguna Seca. Bego Krobler, Johan Bego Krobler for Team Wolf, Going to be getting a bit of support from Jared Bakum out in the pit lane. Going to be on the radio with him, just giving him a bit of an idea of what's happening out there. Ruin Heineke, who has been relaxing in the VIP stands and chatting to all of our amazing virtual grandstands, and just getting a bit of an idea there. Christoph Pearson puts himself up in first with a 121.3. Limburg's trying to fire back at the moment. Rafa down to fourth. Really needs to dial up the way because Stephen Milana James managed to pip him by 0.1 of a second for that third place. And with both drivers wanting to start on the front row, knowing how effective it is, they're going to be doing everything they can to ensure it works out. Jason Farmer, 0.2 up on his time. Final corner to make it work. He's getting chased down by Beggar Krobler, is 0.2 up on his time. But Farmer hoping to improve. A 122.0. Going to get into the 121s as he comes on by. He's up into 6th, ahead of Milestone. Beggar Krobler going to be booting his way through as Ruin Heineke sets a 122.1. Beggar Krobler hoping to get into the 121s as well. And unfortunately, not having the easiest of time. He does get a 122.182. That's just ahead of Henry Platt. But now is putting a lot of daylight between Henry and Milestone, who is more than happy to get a little bit of breathing room. However, for Heineke and Beggar Krobler, it is all or nothing to make it work. I do want to point out one of the drivers that isn't out in qualifying at the moment, Mahath Musa of Project Vapor, will be starting at the back of the field. Rafa Souza up into third place, a 121.5, needing to just knuckle it down to catch up to Limburgs with 1 minute and 55 seconds to go. They have to get into the 121 fours to be able to hold onto that front row, with Christoph a 121.3 as the fastest lap time at current, and will be making their way through. So Jason Farmer coming in through the final corner, hoping to really ratchet it down, 0.2 up on his time. Is this going to be enough when he boots it across the line? And does so with a 121.9 going down to a 121.6 up into 5th. Rafa parks it off. He's not going to be improving. Farmer slowing the car down, saying, I don't think I'm going to be having too easy of a run here. Beggar Krobler sits in 9th position, unable to improve on that last lap, and now just trying to give it a full send to make it work out in his favor. Can he close up the gap, get into the 121s to be in the top 5, or is he going to be starting a little bit further back away from Sean Skitter and behind Ruin Heineke? So there's our last two cars out on circuit. Farmer along with Krobler hoping to get a run up and takes a fight to the sharp end of the field. Farmer, who has fought his way into the top 3 numerous times. Lady Luck hasn't been in the pits. Has it happen now that he can really step up the pace to make his way up through the corkscrew, but is quite far down on the time with 23 seconds to go. If he wants to try and get a time on the board, he needs to cross that line very quickly. Beggar Krobler closing up the distance down through the corkscrew, trying to make it work as fast as possible through the long sweeping left, heading towards the last 2 corners. A long right-hander that you just got to manage the car. Runs out wide, a little close to the track limits there. Final corner, he's 0.2 up on his time and will be booting it through. Farmer unable to get another lap on the board. Will have to be happy with his lap. Beggar Krobler comes across and is not able to improve out of 7. Well, folks, we've come down to this. It's all or nothing as qualifying is drawn to a close, and we have got our field ready to go. They'll be starting to line themselves up in a few moments right now here at Laguna Seca for round 5 of the ERA Sunday Championship. Got to say, absolutely wonderful to have you all. Welcome. And if you are catching us for the very first time, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the bell notification icon. We'd love to have you here, and let us know down in the comments. We'd love to get that little bit of interaction of who do you think is going to be at the sharp end of the field come the end of the race, and who is going to be leading out, and who are you supporting. We'd love to know the supporters on this race. It's a 1 hour race in the dark, at Laguna Seca. It's a little bit chilly out there. It's 19 degrees track temperature, 19 degrees air temperature that the drivers are going to be contending with. So there's going to be a lot of hard work needed to ensure they'll be going and figuring out what is needed. So, as we're getting ready to go, let's take a look back to the track. So, a 1-minute race with a mandatory pit stop. And to get that pit stop done, you have to at least put 1 liter of fuel into the car. Now, you might be wondering, what on earth? Why is there penalties? Well, here in ERA, we like to challenge our drivers. If you want to be the best, you want to be the fastest, you got to learn how to contend when there's a spanner thrown in the works. For any driver that took the victory in the previous round will get 15 seconds. Second place gets 10 seconds. Third gets 5 seconds. That goes through each of the different classes. Like Rafa Souza took the victory at Suzuka, now has 15 seconds to contend with. Christoph Peterson with 10 and Sean Skitter with 5. Henry Platz got 15. We had a chat to him a little bit earlier, giving his thoughts of coming up with a bit of a plan to move forward and what is he going to be able to do. A little bit further down from that, we have got Sebastian Luxen, current leader of the Pro-Am Championship, currently with 10 seconds, and David Roth with 5. And that is our platinum. A little bit further down, though, we have got 10 seconds for Finn van Hollen, 5 seconds for Nicholas Boris. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very, very long run for our gold divisions to really make it work. Lewis Knight, who is going to be rather happy on his qualifying time, is up into 13th. He's got no success penalties to play for, but he was also a driver that didn't quite get the victory to score it up, and will be now trying to score a victory here tonight. So each of the drivers being themselves ready to go. No engine started. You can hear the crickets. You can hear the crowd. You can hear how everything is getting ready to go wild. Sebastian Luxen going and saying that he's worrying about temperatures at the moment on his car and seeing whether it's going to play well in his run, or is he going to run into a few little hiccups. Hopefully not, considering he's leading the championship. I know that there's going to be lots and lots of looks towards the front, but folks, we're getting ready to rock and roll, and welcome to round 5. Welcome to the ERA Sunday Championship. This is server 1. We run 2 servers, and this is essentially Pro-Am, and Am drivers that are classed in server 1. Then we have got more of our, I would say, your bronze drivers, which is bronze and iron, which is in server 2, which are also going on. They're going to be having lots and lots of fun. We've got Lewis going and saying hello, 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 also from the grandstands, cheering on for the Griffin Sim Racing team and such. We got Birdie going and saying, let's go Lucasen, to go and see if he has enough to win out this race and extend that lead into the championship as the cars drop off the jacks, land on the ground. It is now all eyes towards the front as the track comes alive, as the symphony of engines come alive here at Laguna Seca, a circuit that is going to make life so interesting to deal with. And with that being said, talk about it being interesting, let's take a look at our field as they start to roll on their formation lap. So for the ERA Sunday Championship, let's go through who is where. Christoph Peterson holds out the first row with Ernest Lindbergs. Rafa Souza chasing him down in 3rd place and tied in championship points. So keep an eye on the Brazilian to chase him down. Stephen Lorna James in 4th with Jason Farmer, Sean Skitter, Bego Krobler, Milestone, Ruan Heineke and Henry Platt round out the top 10. Paul Fenter along with Lewis Knight, Chris Wall, Ricky Buckler, Patrick Biles along with Rich Van Heed, Daniel Mutsuma, Earl Jar, David Roth and Ulrich Tiaga hold on to 20th position. Benjamin Till a little bit further down with Flo Scup, Nicholas Boris, David Young, Federico Calgero, Paul Scaleris, Finn van Hollen, Diego Matos, Darren Christie, and rounding out the field who didn't set a lap time in qualifying, Mahayeth Musa from Project Vapor will be trying to pull his way through the field. Remember, he is a diamond driver, and he's going to have to fight through the AMS Platinums before he can even reach the likes of Ruan Heineke, who holds 9th position of the diamond. So this is going to be a tough time. This is going to be a wild, wild race, and our drivers knowing what's on the line. This is round 5 of 7. It is crucial to score points here. It's crucial to be at the top of the order, and it's crucial to carry as many points into the final run. Reminder to the drivers as well, because the fastest lap time in each of the class is 1 point. So even if you can't get to first place, you have a chance to score an extra point just by being the quickest during the course of the race. And that will sway the things. Our last 3 championships across the board have been separated by 1 single point. Out in the front row though, teammates, rivals, all looking to battle it out. Christoph and Ernest, friends, rivals, teammates, well, you can say what you want, but it is now a brawl of note, and there is no love lost between the two. And with the likes of Rafa and Steve Milano James ready to go hunting, a quick look coming in from Sean Skitter as they warm up the brakes, warm up the tires, they back the cars up, 70 kilometers an hour. Where are they gonna go? Getting themselves ready to battle it out. Sebastian Luxon in pit lane, and unfortunately running into his first problem is going to be right at the back as the race starts with Christoph getting a jump off the line, trying to close up with Ernest Limburgs up on his gearbox. A quick look from Rafa trying to get the launch around Steve Milano James, who is now stuck on the outside. Rafa making life rather tricky as it's clean running on the way through. Unfortunately, we have got our first problem, and that is our current leader of the championship now starting at the back. Benjamin Till unfortunately getting out of shape, and now turned around the 337 driver in part of an accident. Let's see if we can try and take a look what happened. So huge Constantino effect and a bit of argy-bargy on the way through, and it's all started going around. Oh, Benjamin Till clipping on the Ferraris, and it just created a little bit of a problem there. And who did he catch? Possibly Richard van Heerden, who got himself, oh, he had contact against, that might have been Ulrich de Jager. No, Ulrich got punted off a little bit further. So Rich van Heerden, I think he went, possibly, he was into definitely a green Ferrari. Might have been Ricky that he had a little bit of a go at, and unfortunately didn't work out in his favor. Sebastian Luxon now trying to get past Rich van Heerden at the moment, see where he can get the run. So a little bit of an argy-bargy situation coming in, and drivers having to fight their way through. The 131 was caught out, and that is the likes of Rich van Heerden, with Ricky up ahead of him. And there's a touch into Paul Venter. Venter goes out wide, and there's the turnaround. And unfortunately, Ulrich de Jager clipping the rear of Richard's car on that Constantino effect that has thrown him down the leaderboard. Miles Stone, after a great qualifying, losing out. Sorry, it was Chris Wall that got collected. Here's Paul Venter getting past Miles Stone, and a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit. That is now having Miles hunting him down, seeing where he can go. Lewis Knight not too far back. Chris Wall trying to make his way back through the field after a little bit of a lap tap early on. Close cup, dealing with David Roth, and Paulus Scolaris chasing him down in the BMW, seeing where he can make his first run. David Young a little bit further down the field up against Diego Matos, and will be pushing a little bit more through the field to see what he can do to battle it out. So Seb's out a little bit at the back, dying in 30th at the moment from signing in pit lane. And after a great qualifying, unfortunately, not working out in his favor. A bit of contact coming in. Roger and Daniel Mutsuma side by side through the corkscrew. That's a live flow scrub, and David Roth coming a little bit closer to them to fight it out. And it is going to be Daniel getting the better run on the Frenchman. Flo now trying to close up the distance with Roth hot on his heels. Paulus trying to keep ahead of the likes of Patrick, who goes into the side of Roth, and that unfortunately outbraking gets into the side. That is a huge, huge mistake creeping in. Calgero trying to get a little bit more of a run, and it is Darren Christie who got bottled up right behind Mahath Musa and has now got Roth on the outside. Musa will be keeping his eyes forward. Started at the back, second last, because technically it was Sebastian Luxon that started out from pit lane. That definitely felt the massive, massive run. Patrick trying to claw his way back through the field. Got the inside of Nicholas Boris at the moment. Does get on by. David Young now trying to close the distance between them. Diego Matos as well. So we're starting to see at the back end of the field, life getting a little bit difficult. Two South Africans, Bego Krobler, along with Jason Farmer, brawling it out. They're trying to catch up to the expat, Sean Skitter, who came from South Africa, now lives in the UK, going and fighting it out between one another. Christoph Peterson running into a little bit of a hairy situation. Ernest Lindbergh's having a little bit of a slip, and let's see what happened to the 95 car that was making some good headway against Christoph Peterson. Did the rear snap out underneath him and lose a bit of time, or did he just go out a little bit too quick into the corners? Cold tires, cold circuit. No, he had a bit of an issue coming in with a slight internet issue that has gone and caused a little bit of a backup situation for himself. Rafa a little bit further back, trying to make some headway at the moment to Stephen Milano James as they push on. Bego Krobler all over the gearbox of that Ferrari 296. The turbocharged V6 versus the naturally aspirated V8 Mustang. And they look just ahead for the four-cylinder twin-turbo likes of that Honda NSX that continues on. Henry Platt just behind them. Waits for his opportunity. Currently leads out the field. He's got Rune Heineke going and splitting him, and Paul Fenter, who holds on second for the Platinum field, with Miles Stone holding on to third. Lewis Knight at the moment in a bit of a happy place as he is leading out the golds. He has got Chris Hall, Daniel Mutsma, Earl John close up, separating him from Paul Scaleris and the likes of Finn van Holland as well. Benjamin Till, and it looks like Sebastian Luxon running into a bit of contact situation there. And let's quickly go back on our replay. So down on the inside, this is Benjamin Till in the Team Wolf colours, trying to make his way through part of the Racing Snails, now in Team Wolf colours, and has a bit of a moment with the Audi of Diego Matos, and that had the likes of Sebastian Luxon going into the back of him. Diego not having an easy run and is stopped out on circuit. Diego Matos towed back to pit. A critical problem happening to the Audi R8. And this is Finn van Holland now trying to hold the inside of turn 2. Has got Mahath Muster trying to hunt him down. Daniel Mutsuma a little bit further back. Loses out to Lewis Knight and Aurel Jar now on the back of him, as he had a little bit of contact with Chris Wall. So we are starting to see a little bit of elbow to elbow action happening between drivers. And now we jump on board to Daniel Mutsuma, who chases down Lewis Knight. Lewis is a Gold Division driver, but now sits in a monstrous battle with Platinums going and hunting him down. And Lewis hoping to stay on the back of Chris Wall at the moment. The two do have good discussions with one another. They are friends. The question is, now can they carry that friendship a little bit longer? Daniel, however, is going to be keeping the pressure on, as we do see Chris going and getting it wrong. Daniel Mutsumo now going to go side by side and loses out the run as Chris carries the momentum through. He tries to close the door on Daniel Mutsumo, who keeps his nose firmly in there to prevent Chris Wall from going and taking away the pace off racing line. And this is turning into a bit of an interesting time and going back to Suzuka, a rehash of what we saw at Suzuka, with both drivers are not afraid to lean on one another. Chris Wall holds the inside line. Daniel tried to go for an undercut, couldn't quite get it done. That's allowed the likes of Aurel Jar to get right into the back of him. David Roth making up some time after the contact early on in the race. Up again, now up to Finn van Holland in 20th position. You can see how the train's starting to build up. Benjamin Till losing out the run to Sebastian Luxon, who now continues on his climb at the moment. He's got a 10-second that he needs to serve in the pits, but he's also feeling the pain. Sean Skitter falling down the order into the corkscrew. And Bego, Henry Platt, Rune Heineke getting past him. And Sean Skitter just incredibly slow heading into the corkscrew. What on earth happened to the driver, number 13, that was going well, suddenly now getting swallowed up by the field? So this is Jason Farmer that's on the back of him. Did he put a wheel wrong, and that just had the entirety of the field come through? Remember, Sean Skitter is fighting for the championship here. Oh, clipped the curb, sent flying. He's able to bring it back away from the wall, rejoining safely That's killed all the drive that's going on. There's Rin Heineke diving past him, and now he's got his teammate Paul Fenter on the back of him that will be chirping him, will be saying, come on, we're either going to work together or you need to move out of the way. And we have got a bit of a problem. Finn van Holland running into a bit of an issue, and that is the number 5 driver that possibly had some contact. Let's quickly go and take a look at what happened here. Finn van Holland trying to keep ahead of David Roth, heading into the final corner, and it's going to be Roth up on the inside, slight knock into 2, and that is unfortunately Finn van Holland getting swallowed up by the field. Now having to try and get himself going. Rich van Heed going and clearing past as well as part of our earlier contacts, and now trying to see where he can pull it back from the brink. So drivers pushing a little bit hard, mistaking their brake marks at the moment, and running into a few problems. We unfortunately one retirement coming into play, and that is our Stunt Possum Racing going and landing up out, and that was the Audi R8 of likes of Diego Matos retiring the car. Unknown reasoning why, but hopefully it is not terminal and they can get that car back out on circuit, and it's not a retirement. I'd rather see a couple laps down, see it through to the line, and see it through to the very, very bitter end at the moment. Chris Wall all over the back of Lewis Knight, trying to see where he can get on by. Ricky further up the road with Masto and Paul Fenter. They are currently running 4th, 3rd, and 2nd of the Platinum class. And Chris Wall at the moment is stuck behind the leader of our Gold class. Christoph Peterson continues to lead on the pack, and just ahead of him is the first of our back markers, not Ulrich Diaga, who is down in 30th position trying to make up some time. Federico Calgero, Finn van Holland, Rich van Heed. So this is going to be an interesting time that our race leader, it will be trying to hunt down the rest of the pack and see how he can close up the distance as they go through. Chris Wall hoping to make it work, and Limburg's running into, once again, a couple of internet issues starting to pop around, and this is what we've seen previously from him that has cost him points so vitally for the championship, and now having to see where it all works out. Lewis Knight loses out to Chris Wall, and now Daniel Mutsudo will be the next one to try to come on by, and Chris Wall got it wrong through the corkscrew last time around. He gets it beautifully done now. Daniel getting a good drive out on Lewis Knight. We'll be seeing how he can make this work. 48 minutes into this race, a 1-hour race with a mandatory pit stop. Drivers are going to start to consider the halfway point. It is cold out there, 18 degrees. We dropped a degree since the start of the race. Man, oh man, can I talk English? Ulrich Diago, Frederick Calgero, along with Finn van Holland, trying to move their way up through the field. And Finn van Holland, unfortunately, at the back end of the field, trying to battle against Ulrich Diago at the moment. Got a little bit of a turnaround in this final corner, and now just seeing where he can go with Calgero further up the road. The Cyber Racing team seeing where they can go, how far up the road they can really push the cars. Daniel Mutzma onto the back of Lewis Knight, eyeing out the opportunities that can be had at the moment to get on by, because he knows he is losing critical time to Chris Wall. However, Lewis Knight is running, oh man, the last lap time was a 124.7, but he did get overtaken. But Daniel is a lot quicker, did a 123.6 on his last lap, and that will be the telling sign. A real job with a 123.5, who is quicker than likes of Daniel Mutzva, starting to close up that distance. And the question is, for the likes of Lewis Knight, is he going to keep the solid fight to try and hold them back, knowing that Paulus Scaleras is trying to make his way through? So Paulus will be hoping to get a little bit closer in the fight, seeing where he can go. And the question is, how far is he willing to go through it all? I mean, this is always going to be a tough time for the drivers. Who is going to be able to step up through the field and stay at the top as time goes on? Sebastian Luxon, who has been steadily climbing his way back up through the field after rejoining the server after a disconnect, has got Darren Christie to get past, and Darren's not going to make it too easy for him, as they two different classes, but however, it is for on-track position. Takes a dive on the inside. Darren giving a lot of room there. Thought a little bit differently about the championship fight, and looking in his relative, getting reports back from the pits as well of, listen, he's not your fight. Your one is Patrick, who is now behind you in that BMW. Let's focus on defense where we need to go and not get into unnecessary fights. This is how it goes later into the championship. You start going round 1, you racing everyone out there. Round 2, you're starting to understand your competition. Round 3, you're getting a little bit more alert to what's around you. Round 4, round 5, you are now looking at your classes. Round 6, you are looking to score as well as you can through it all. And we'll have to try and make your way up to the top. Dennis Limburg's out in second place at the moment, trying to make his way through. Losing track of his teammate, Stephen Milona James, running into third place. Rafa Souza with Jason Farmer holding on to the top 5 at the moment of class and overall. Beggar Koble in 6th. Henry Platt leads out his class with the likes of Ruin Heineke and Skitter playing a little bit of defense to hold back Paul Venter. He was 2nd of our Platinum class. Miles Stone trying to close up the distance in 3rd place for the Platinum class. Ricky Beckler along with Chris Wall a little bit further back. Lewis Knight holds on to the lead of his class with Paulus Scaleris in 2nd place. Darren Christie and Patrick Bells running a little bit further down in that 4th position with David Young on the way through. So interesting fights, interesting runs, but now everyone's starting to get a little bit more settled in this race. The closest running drivers at the moment, Lewis Knight, Daniel Mutsuma are the closest runners, along with now Patrick and Darren Christie. A real jar getting it a bit out of shape into the dirt, allows Mythe Musa to clear on by, and also Paulus to get on that pass up into the corkscrew. He went and took that dive. Real, unfortunately, not having the easiest time in the older spec Ferrari. That is the 488, my personal favorite, utilizing that V8 instead of the turbocharged V6 in the 296, and has been a really good car. We've seen that work out for the likes of Christoph Peterson and many others. Unfortunately, Real Jar not quite having the same luck with the car, but is still working on that as first for the season. Benjamin Till a little bit further down, hoping to get the Team Wolf BMW to go up through the order, and races in both Team Wolf in colors, but he also races in the Racing Snails colors as well, so doubling up on teams depending on where the championships are and going and finding it out all the way from Ireland. Patrick further up the road, now looking to defend and do everything he can, but I do want to point out a very interesting take, and that is David Roth. Now, we do know he was suffering with a bit of damage after a solid crash a little bit earlier on. He has now completed all these pit stops. 43 minutes into this race, it was 42.4 seconds stop, so that was repair, that was tires and fuel done. So he's racing to the end and has now set the bar, has set the precedent of where everyone is going to be looking for. Christoph Peterson currently holds the fastest lap time of the race with a 121.8 as he continues on. Limburg's unfortunately with a 122.0. Despite a bit of clear air, he is not having the easiest time out there. Now, that being said, let's take a look at who's gained the most here. Off the start of the bat, it has been Mahath Musa, who started second last, but qualified in last place, 31st position. He's up 14 positions from when he started. He's up into 17th. Well, he's now looking on the inside flow scub and will make it 50 just to go and call us a liar. And Mahath Musa taking a steady climb back up through the hill and trying to see where he can make it work out for him. Unfortunately, ones that have lost the most is one that has pitted and got all the pit stops done. That's David Roth, who is down 10 positions. Started in 20th, now down to the likes of 30th. So interesting running there. Interesting call, I have to admit, whether they're going to have an easier time to move forward. Christoph Peterson currently leads out the field, continuing on his charge, and we have just got alert, possibly a disconnect, and we might have just lost Sebastian Luxon. We have lost Sebastian Luxon, who is our current leader of the championship. He was worrying about heating issues, and it looks like that has possibly come to roost for him and is currently out of the sim. Can he get himself back in to see it through to the end, or is it going to be a nightmare case scenario for him to try and make up the points? So we're holding thumbs, we're holding everything at the moment to see that car come back in. But that is going to be a deep sigh of relief for everyone fighting in the championship, because now the fight is on. Paulus going down the inside. Gotta say, I love the livery there. Trying something a bit new on his car. Very simplistic in its way. Going and having a bit of Coca-Cola vanilla colors on it as well. And just giving himself a little bit of a nature vibe away from the traditional racing look. Real Gel down in 28th position. Not having an easy time out there. But a big blow coming in for Sebastian Luxon. Lewis Knight on the back of Mahath Musa, who is clawing his way up through the field. Remember, he started out at the back of the field, didn't put a qualifying time in. Mahath Musa is also lying 9th in the championship. Didn't score at Suzuka, but has scored every round since that. He has scored the first 2 and our last round, but now looking to try and carry that momentum through. Flowscub unfortunately getting out shape, and that is coming out of the corkscrew. So he landed up in the dirt, turned round, not looking so great, and now trying to see where else he can get that little bit of momentum, as he was making some inroads a little bit early on. Unfortunately now biting the dirt just that little bit more, and trying to figure out what is the game plan to move forward. So trying to find out a little bit of notification on what happened to Sebastian Luxon. Was the overheating issue what has thrown him out of the race, and has now made him looking towards the championship a bit closer than he would like. I know that Henry Platt will be smiling ear to ear on that, because the two of them usually land up in a full-on brawl. However, Henry sitting a little bit further down in the championship. He's sitting in 3rd with Ricky in 2nd place. I know the Griffin Sim Racing team will be telling Ricky, come on buddy, you need to get going. You need to get a little bit of a giddy up here, and we need to focus on what we have to do. Jason Farmer currently in 5th position, with Rafa right on the chase. So Rafa in 4th place. Keep an eye on the field and take a look at this, as we did have Federico Calgero looking towards pit lane, and is a retirement. Federico Calgero out of this race. What on earth happened to Calgero? So let's see if we can take a look. Now, this is 29 car, and unfortunately not who we're looking for. Calgero out of the race, and for what reason we have no idea, but that is what happened to the likes of Flowscub. Porsche going and having a bit of a mind of its own. So 2 cars out of this race, one being the Stun Possum's very own Diego Matos, who has done incredibly well, and last season was in for the championship in the gold division. Now he's out along with Federico Calgero, and we have lost the likes of our Sebastian Luxon as well, who may have given up with the overheating issue coming into play. Dev Young down at the bottom has pitted, and he is trying his luck with a much earlier pit stop. The question is he going to come out ahead of David Roth, and will it be enough to have a run up through the field? So interesting times coming in from each of the drivers, trying to figure out what is the game plan here. Where can they move forward? Jason Farmer and Rafa close to one another, side by side they go, with Rafa just having enough of a charge. You can see how the Predator is holding back the Griffin at the moment. It's going to be a tough run for him though. He's dropping a wheel on the dirt. You can see how Jason Farmer makes it up under braking. He's able to take that stab. Running out a little bit wide though. Pushing maybe too hard on throttle. Getting a bit of understeer creeping in with the car as he tries to close up the distance. Been close to the podium a good couple of times here, but they both sitting 2.4 seconds away from Stephen Malone and James, who currently holds on to 3rd place in that 787 numbered car, the Ferrari 296, holding on to 3rd. So different manufacturers lurking around in the top 4, with Jason Farmer going to be squaring it up with the Ferraris in 5th position. Bego Krobler, you can just see the headlights in the background, starting to try and close the distance between the two of them as well. Will be focusing on his drive to make him move forward. This is on the front split of Mahath Musa, and we have got reports of the 337 car running into a problem. That is Benjamin Till. Benjamin Till got a problem out on circuit. What on earth happened to Benjamin Till? In through the corners, trying everything he can. Little bit of oversteer coming in into the dirt, and snapped round to him. Can he keep it out of the wall? Oh, just the lightest of touches, but enough to make life difficult for him. And now having to think a little bit more. Jason Farmer out of the top 5, pulling into the pits, and Paul Fenter doing exactly that. Jason Farmer has done this a couple of times, pitting a lot earlier than the rest of the fields, trying to see if it makes any bit of headway. Flows Cup trying to keep side by side with Rich Van Heerden. That's allowed Patrick to also get right on the back of him. He's looking to try and make it a 3-way battle. Richard running out a bit wide, gets caught out by Flo. The two continue to charge on. Patrick onto the back of Richard as they boot themselves across. Nicholas in the tow, trying to pull himself through. Farmer just leaving pit lane now. Paul Fenter waiting to get out and get going, as he is waiting a little bit longer than planned at the moment to see himself through. So Farmer rejoins the circuit and now leads out those. They have completed their first pit stop, and it's the first one out of the top 5 to pull into the pits and tried his luck on a new gambit here at Laguna Seca. He's tried to see if it works out for him a good couple of times early on in the season, and it hasn't quite turned into it. But this has got the field saying, look, Miles Stone pitting out of the top 10 to see if he can get that pit stop out of the way and continue on his drive. The marker has been shown with 34 minutes left in this race. We usually see them go right down to the wire. Chris Wall, Daniel Mutzma, they pull into the pits. Myath Muster's going to keep his foot firmly on the throttle to try and go a little bit further. Finn Holland down in 28th position now, who loses out to David Young and David Roth. And so they continue on their charge. The Chris Wall getting a bit of word from his teammate, going and saying, hey, listen, there's something going on. Ricky, bit out of shape here. And it looks like possibly with the likes of Bago getting out of shape as well. What on earth happened to the two? So this is Ricky coming out of turn 2, aiming for turn 3. It's a quick right-hander. We've seen a couple of drivers put a wheel wrong on the left-hand side on the rear. No, he lost it going into the corner, and there is the impact into the wall. Comes back, and Roth is ahead of him on the exit. But what on earth happened to the likes of Bago Frobler, who was running a little bit further up ahead? There is one of our cars exiting pits. That's Finn Van Holland, who is exiting and now getting himself back onto the race field, seeing the entire field coming by. But it also looks like Bago Frobler had a bit of a moment heading into turn 6, possibly going and putting wheel onto the dirt, costing him a bit of time. Seeing where it goes. Rich Van Heerden side by side with Patrick going and utilizing even off circuit to try and get ahead of Rich Van Heerden. And over the curbs, really riding it through on the BMW. Richard hunting left and right, goes for the inside line. Couldn't quite get it done and dusted there. Nicholas Porras trying to do everything he can. Ricky into the pits to get some car work done to his one. And Ulrich de Jager, along with Nicholas, hunting down all three, opting to go into pit lane. All two of Richard and Nicholas, with Ulrich de Jager going to be continuing on his drive to try and close up to Patrick further up the road. This is turning into an interesting fight, folks, because Jason Farmer up into 14th position at the moment and is stretching that gap just a little bit more here for round 5 of the championship, the ERA Sunday Championship. And at the moment, let's take a look at where everyone is, because Limburgs has just hooked it into the pits and he has come in from the top 3, fighting out with Christoph Peterson, running a little bit of time out, and will be keeping an eye out. And there is a very, very quick run into the pits for Ruben Heineke as he takes a dive. The 315, unfortunately, landing into a bit of a problem. That is David Young through the corkscrew, getting a little bit loose and lost out. Finn Van Holland into the pits with a stop-go 30-second penalty for speeding into pit lane or out of pit lane. That is an absolute gut punch for Finn Van Holland, who has just had a difficult run. He served his stop-go. He's going to carry on battling it out. The Windrush Racing team Good to see him out there. And, oh, you can see the tires so cold. Can't slow the car down properly. And that is costing him a huge amount of time. As we do also see Rich Van Heert leaving pit lane as well. They're going to be coming out onto the racing line for our drivers with cold tires. Ernest Lindbergh's out onto the circuit. Stopped 32.3 seconds in the box. That is fuel and tires. Jason Farmer did the same thing. Ruben Heineke, Paul Fenter. I don't think there is a single car that has decided to not change their tires. Despite being colder, Laguna Seca does land up eating these tires a little bit harder every step of the way as you push more and more. And also, as the temperature difference started coming into play, dropping down to 18 degrees. They initially started at 19. And that little 1 degree change is quite a bit in terms of PSI differences. In 40 seconds to go, we'll be halfway through this race. And it is still madness on the way through, because at the moment, Christoph Peterson leads out our diamond field with Steve Milano, James and Rafa up into third. Henry Platt holds on to fifth out of the entirety of the field. He's in first place of his class. He's got Rul Gel down in 14th that hasn't pitted as yet and is in second place for the Platinum. Paul Fenter is third place. He's in 16th at the moment behind Ruben Heineke and has done his pit stop. Remember, Henry Platt's got that 15-second penalty, the success penalty he needs to serve on his pit stop. So, let's talk about drivers that have moved forward as we see Lewis Knight and Darren Christie into the pits. Patrick into first place for the gold, and Patrick Bells hoping to make it work out in his favor. Ulrich de Jager up into second place for the gold division. And will we see the likes of Paulus be able to close up the distance to get ahead of Lewis Knight? Unfortunately not. Lewis Knight leaving pit lane now with Christie trying to make his way as well. Christie just at a stop, and we do see Begor Grobler pulling into pit lane. There's Lewis Knight exiting pit lane and is going to be more than happy to have a bit of a run through. Henry Platt going to be smiling ear to ear on this one and keeping a very close eye on the field with Rul Gel going to be the driver on the cards for him. Peterson, Milano, James, Sosa, Platt, Skitter, Krobler, who has now just gone into pit lane. That's going to allow Mahath Musa to move up through the order. Our top six now yet to do their mandatory pit stop. Patrick Bars, Ulrich de Jager is running first and second of their class, which is the gold division, yet to do their pit stop. And Rul Gel, who is now running second place of the platinum, is needing to do his pit stop. The rest of the field, folks, have all done their pit stops. They have completed their pit stops and are seeing their way through. Every single person has changed tires. That's something to be noted, because as time goes on, there is a limitation here. You start to lose the ability to change your tires without compromising yourself a lot. So depending on the tire dig, and when we talk about tire dig, it's the tire degradation, the life in the tires. How much are they going to keep that bite in you? Are you going to keep the same set of tires? If you protected it early on, it's going to help you out. If you ran the tire pressures just that little bit lower and we're running a little bit easier over the curbs, you have that little bit of room to play with. However, it is something for many of the drivers to think about on their run. Peterson, who holds the lead of the race, will be keeping a very close eye on what Milano, James and Sosa has done, because Ernest Lindbergh's, who is down in 7th position at the moment and coming up to the pit entry, and that tells you the difference between them. He's 14 seconds off the back of Mahath Musa, heading down the main straight. Now, he has completed all his pit stops and will be looking to claw his way up through the field. And this is going to be the main factor points for the drivers. Patrick pulls into the pits, and that's allowed Begor Grobler to come on by, but it has Lewis Knight close the distance enough to see if he can retake the lead of the race for his class. And that is going to be the interesting factor here for Lewis Knight, who is leading his championship and hoping to make it work just that little bit more, trying to see if it's going to be enough to dial it in and go that extra mile at the moment. For the server 1, our diamond, platinum, and gold here for the ERA Sunday Championship. Round 5, and with only 2 rounds after this left, it is critical for points to see how it's going to work out. Unfortunately, 3 retirements out of the race thus far. That's Diego Matos going and being our first early retirement, followed by that Sebastian Luxon running into a heating issue. He's out of the race as well. So we did see a couple of drivers slowly but surely falling out of the race and losing that little bit of time. Close up all over the back of Darren Christie at the moment as they battle their way through out of turn 2. Both fighting for second and third at the moment in the gold division. Flo hoping to really capitalize here, looking to move forward. Flo Scout at the moment in the gold championship has been really trying his best. Sometimes it has been a bit of a nightmare race for him, and he's hoping that he can really swap that round at the moment in the gold division. In the platinum division, he is sitting in 17th and only sitting on 4 points. Darren Christie, who holds on second for the gold championship, and Darren is running further down in the championship. For the gold, he is 15th with only 7 points, tied with Ulrich de Jager, and he is looking to see if he can get a victory here. Maeth Musa into pit lane. Rafa Sosa into pit lane. That means Henry Platt up into third. Stephen Milano James going to be trying to battle his way through, and Christoph Peterson takes a lunge on the inside, clearing past Paul Fenter and saying thank you very much on the way. Maeth Musa exiting pit lane down into 16th, and now Rafa going to be keeping a very close eye on the likes of Milano James and Peterson to see where exactly they're going to come out. Limburgs is going to be happy to see that Rafa's in the pits because he's going to clear him by and has got Rich Van Heene. He does give a quick flash saying, listen, Richard, I'm going to be coming by very quickly. Blue flags rules means that you be predictable, you hold your line, and you're not allowed fighting. For Richard, he is going to do exactly that. I don't think he's going to make it a too easy pass here, much to the detriment of Limburgs, who is going to be hunting down. He does snatch the inside line away and unfortunately couldn't quite carry the momentum in his favor. Richard does allow a little bit of a lift coming out of turn 3 for Limburgs up into third. Rafa down into 9th now as he exits turn 2 after his pit stop. Will keep a close eye. Remember, Peterson and Platt both need their final pits, well, to do their pit stop. Both are the last 2 cars sitting with a success penalty, with Peterson on 10 and Platt on 15. If Platt pits the same time as Peterson, he would have enough room away from the likes of Paul Fenter at current, because he'll be mitigating that 5 second that goes through it. So if we had to look where Paul Fenter is on circuit, he is now making his way up towards the corkscrew. He's got the leader in his sight. He's got Peterson, so now into the corkscrew, swings himself back down and is a little bit far off the batch here. So Henry Platt has got a bit of an opportunity if he keeps an eye on what Peterson does to try and hold back the likes of Paul Fenter away from that position. Steve Milano James going that little bit longer in the race is trying something different as well. Remember, he can pit, but doesn't have to serve a 15-second stop. He can follow in with the likes of Christoph Peterson. He's 10 seconds off the back, and that means that it's just enough to get rid of that 10-second deficit in terms of success penalty. However, it does mean it's going to be an interesting fight. Ricky Buckler fighting out against Sean Skitter. 2 different classes. Ricky holding on to third as it stands. Henry Platt has pitted this time round, so he didn't follow what Peterson was going to do. He's trying a different luck here. Let's see how that's going to work out for him. Ricky following in through turn 3 at the moment, so he has got a long way to go. But Platt is going to be watching onto the mirrors of where Paul Fenter is. As Paul Fenter is making his way through, this would be turn 5 and 6 and aiming up the hill to the corkscrew. So I do suspect that Platt has done enough to hold back Paul Fenter. It's going to be close though when they come on by. Limburg's up into third place now. He's going to be happy that he's got a little bit more room to play with and can try and close up the gap. At the moment, lying nearly a minute behind the likes of Christoph Peterson, who still has to do the pit stop. Ooh, a little bit of a close affair between Limburgs and our BMW of, that would be Patrick, it wasn't, that was Paulus, who ran out a little bit wide there in his vanilla Coke style colors. Rich Van Heerd and Nicholas Boris fighting it out, and at the moment they're holding back the likes of Jason Farmer, who is lapping them at the moment. He's got to keep it well enough in mind. Henry Platt leaving pit lane, has just lost out to Paul Fenter, who's been following the likes of Christoph Peterson round. Stephen Malone and James into the pits. Now Paul Fenter leads out the Platinum and will be looking to move forward. Ricky Buckler further up the road is in second place for the Platinum, with Henry Platt now trying to get a little bit more momentum. He has done his pit stop, and it does look like he possibly has done tires as well on the pit stop to get himself sorted. So an interesting call there. Get a fresh set of boots on the car and get going. But with Stephen Milano James into the pit lane, this means with 20 minutes to go, our leader, Christoph Peterson, currently is the only car on circuit that is yet to do his mandatory pit stop. And as we say that, he dives into the pit lane. But now the question comes in. Limburgs, is he close enough to capitalize on this moment? Can he close the distance to Christoph Peterson to at least have a fighting chance at the moment? Stephen Milano James runs out wide out of turn 3, nearly having a moment with Jason Farmer, and it looks like possible contact between the two of them. Both Jason Farmer and Milano James, they're landing up a bit into the dirt, and that was from contact. Let's go to Tim in the heli. So Rich Van Heerd holding back the likes of Jason Farmer, was flashing his lights here, saying, come on, mind out of the way here. Look for the inside. He knows that there's a bit of a run. Unfortunate contact onto Stephen Milano James. Farmer having a bit of a moment, and there was a late braking coming in for Nicholas, who suddenly had his face absolutely, sorry, that was Finn Van Hollen that suddenly had a Ferrari right across his nose. A great avoidance coming in from Finn Van Hollen, but now we have got a fight going on with Stephen Milano James, and he is trying to cycle his way back up through the field and try and see where he can go. Sorry, it was Nicholas that actually hit the brakes a bit hard, and we'll see how it goes. Limburgs into the lead of the race. Peterson coming out of the pits. Farmer will be catching right onto the back of Peterson. He got held up a little bit too much. He would have been in second place, but unfortunately not able to clear the back markers. Now is sitting 4 seconds off the back of Christoph Peterson. He needs to really dial up the wick here to make it work. Rafa 1 second ahead of Paul Fenter. Rafa at the moment, who was an early pit stop, is now down in 7th. Paul Fenter, who currently leads out the Platinum, is having the likes of Sean Skitter playing a little bit of defense at the moment. Ricky a little bit further down, second of our Platinum class, with Henry Platt on the back of him trying to push a bit harder. And Miles Stone, remember Miles was one to set an incredible pace in qualifying for the Platinum, now is going to be doing everything he can. Lewis Knight fighting it out with Daniel Mutsuma. Looked for the inside, thought better of it. Now has Mahath Musa closing up at a rate of knots. Is he going to allow Mahath Musa to clear on by as they do find the 296? That is a real jar coming to a stop. That is the 488 getting spun round and retaking the course a little bit further down the order. He is in second last of the runners at the moment, with Finn Van Hollen just a bit further down. It's been a race to forget for the drivers a little bit further down the order. However, Mahath Musa up into 16th with Lewis Knight ahead of him and Daniel Mutsua, who fights left, right, and center at the moment. We've got 3 different classes fighting out there. And is it going to be cool heads prevail? Better judgment is going to work out in terms of keeping things alive, keeping the championship hopes alive at the moment. Limburgs, who currently holds a 5.8 second gap to Peterson. Farmer, 4.2 seconds back from him. Hasn't been able to dig that little bit deeper to see if it's going to work out on the running order as we go and take a look back to Lewis Knight, Daniel Mutsua, and Mahath Musa charging on at the moment, trying to figure out Where can they go? Henry Platt is 2.7 seconds off the back of Ricky at the moment. Ricky is 2.4 seconds off the back of Sean Skitter, who's going to play a little bit of defense for Paul Fenter. 7 seconds up the road from there. 16 minutes left of this race. And take a look, big look on the inside coming in from the likes of Mahath Musa. Forces the likes of Lewis Knight to back off, run a little bit wide, and lose that little bit of time to see how it works out. I do also want to point out that 7 seconds back from Patrick, who's running at the moment third in his class. Ulrich Diaga holds 4th place and is 7 seconds off the back, trying to make his way through. A real jar, unfortunately, into the dirt yet again. The 488 out on circuit. The number 296 with a 488, just to make things even more complicated, is now having a difficult time as he has been landing up in the dirt, compromising his line, but is still going out. He's still seeing it through to the end, and that is what we love to see. If you see the green, you got to see the checkered. It's never an easy run, and it's always one you got to keep an eye out for. Flo Scub onto the back of Darren Christie. Patrick going and closing up on the back of him. These three absolutely having a huge amount of fun. Patrick feeling that he needs to really put the hammer down to get past Flo Scub. Darren is running 2nd place in the gold class, and Flo Scub is running out of position from the platinum class. He is definitely the cork in the bottle to try and keep this going, and Darren is going to be smiling ear to ear at the moment, knowing that he's got a little bit of support. Christoph Pearson sets fast lap time of the race with a 121.6, and that is an extra point that's going to work out for him. Jason Farmer and Stephen Milano James fighting it out. A quick flash of lights coming in from Farmer, going and giving a bit of a show there. So what on earth happened? It was side by side between the two. A light lift coming in for Milano James, and I think possibly might have been a bit of contact between the two of them, and Jason Farmer giving back that 3rd place to Stephen Malona James. Darren Christie getting it out of shape into the wall. Darren Christie into the wall, and that has allowed the likes of Patrick up into 2nd, and Ulrich Diaga now up into 3rd. The Griffin Sim Racing driver up into 3rd. Was too far back to make it happen. Mahath Musa now getting ahead of the likes of Daniel Mutsuma. Looks towards the inside to guard into turn 2. Daniel Mutsuma fighting back against the likes of Mahath Musa. He is a platinum driver, but nothing says that he can't go for the fight, as the drivers will have to think a bit outside the box here, trying to figure out what is the game plan. Paul Fenter still leads on his class, and further up the road, Rafa Sosa along with Ruan Heineke, who has been on a great charge at the moment, up into 6th position. This would be one of his best finishing positions all season. He's a driver that has smashed the car to pieces and has been at the back of the field for the first time this season, sitting in the top 10, looking for a great finish. Rafa fighting him out all the way through, and 6 seconds up the road is Bego Krobler for that top 5. Can Ruan Heineke and Rafa work together that little bit more to try close the distance between them to see if it's going to work out in their favor, or is it going to be a fight of note? Lewis Knight at the moment's got David Roth and Flo Scud, who are protecting him from Patrick and Ulrich Diaga, as we do see Flo getting out of shape, and that is into the corkscrew yet again. The Achilles heel of the Los Pantos Hermanos machine going and getting lost on the hill, and that has thrown him down. Ulrich Diaga moving up, and along with David Roth getting a bit of clearance as well on that way through. So Flo not going to be too happy on that little bit of a mistake coming in. Richard Fanier losing out to David Young as they both power their way through. The two Ferraris hoping to close the difference. And Rafa and Paul Fenter coming to blows. Rafa and Paul Fenter have come to blows on the hill. So what on earth has gone on between the two? We're going to go back 30 seconds here and try and spot out what happened. So there is the Porsche. That is Nicholas, who, a little bit of a clip getting caught out, and there's Rafa, rolls back in through the field. Paul Fenter nearly clipping into them, but it was just a bounce around all the way through. Rafa, unfortunately, a light tap to the rear of the car, got him spun round. He went for the inside and got that little bit of a left tap that threw him down the order. Rafa, who is at the moment second in the championship, down in ninth at the moment, and has, oh, you can see just that car not happy at the moment. He is pushing harder and harder, knowing the pressure's there. Oh, onto the curbs again. Oh, no, and Rafa loses it. Hard into the wall. Goes back, and Henry Platt getting nearly caught out. Takes the evasive maneuvers into the dirt. That could have changed the entire complexion of the Platinum. And looks like Rafa may have an issue here. Is he going to retire the car? And yes, the Apex Predator looks like he has pulled the car into the pits with major damage to his car, and that has just turned the entire tide of battle. And Rafa, from holding second place in the championship, now has gone way out of it. And Jason Farmer is 1.8 seconds behind Stephen Milano James, so it's up to these two Ferraris to fight it out for the final step on the podium to see who's going to get the victory. Who of these two have got enough in the tank to go and score big here? Jason Farmer, who's been fighting for third place. Watkins Glen, he lost it with the light touch. He lost it at Suzuka. Can Laguna Seca be the track that brings it back for Jason Farmer? Or will Stephen Milano James be able to snatch that away yet again from the Griffin Sim Racing driver? Bago Krobler, 5 seconds off the back of him, and he's got Ruin Heineke 8 seconds off him. Ruin Heineke's got no pressure. Paul Fenter is further up the road, 7 seconds away from the likes of Ruin Heineke, 2 seconds away from Sean Skitter. Ricky Buckler a little bit closer now. We saw Henry Platt having a near moment with Rafa, where he dived towards the Onco barrier, and that has now opened up Milestone to come at him. 1.6 seconds behind with 9 minutes to go. It is drama in the immortal words of Murray Walker. Lewis Knight going and holding his own first in the gold division, with Patrick Bells holding second place, and Ulrich Diaga in third. Earl Jar getting out of shape, trying to rejoin, does have the field coming by and will see it through to the end. The question is, can he keep going? Rafa, who's stuck in pit lane, will they be able to get that car back out on circuit to at least see the end, to at least cross the line? That's what he needs to do for the championship points here. He does have a drop round to play with. Rather make it one that you can score at least 1 point that can possibly help you in this race. Nicholas losing out to Benjamin Till, now continues on the drive, and that is Paul Fenter getting stuck between them. He's got Nicholas looking around, trying to see where he can go on by. And you've got the likes of Benjamin Till, who is now just ahead of Paul Fenter, who will want to clear him as fast as possible, as now he's starting to have his own teammate, Sean Skitter, close the distance. And that is pulling the Griffin Sim Racing driver of Ricky that little bit closer into the fight. Ernest Limburgs now 3.2 seconds away from Christoph Peterson, who has been going lap after lap, setting some impressive lap times, 121.4 for Limburgs. A victory here will be great. Ernest Limburgs was in for a victory at Suzuka. Unfortunately, light contact while trying to get past the back marker landed up with him spiraling into the wall and taking on a bit of damage and having that victory snatched away from him. Will it be a run of redemption here at Laguna Seca, out in the dark for the driver that has had a bit of an uphill run throughout this race? Christoph Peterson in second place. Stephen Milano James 1.3 seconds away from Jason Farmer. Third place of the Diamond Division is on the cards here. And we have got fight after fight after fight. It is banger after banger for our drivers right the way through. Rich Van Heerden trying to close up to Paulus at the moment, as the two of them are fighting full class position and looking to move their way forward. For Richard, this is a nightmare case because now he is out of the podium contention for this race. 6 minutes left in it, and he has to focus on damage limitation at the moment. Score as many points. A real job into the pits, trying to get his car checked out, and we have got reports that unfortunately Rafa is out of this race. Too much damage to the car, and they will have to bring it back next time around. So a bit of a blow coming in there, but let's take a look as Limburgs has lost a lot of time on his last run. Limburgs last lap was a 122.7, and now Peterson 1.8 seconds behind him, looking to retake the lead of the race for Limburgs, who holds third in the championship for the Diamond class, now having his teammate all over the back of him and has got the fastest lap time of the race, will be going and stretching that lead a little bit more ahead, and will be going and causing a bit of heartache to Limburgs as it stands. Paul Venter dealing with Sean Skitter, who has closed the distance to him. Is Skitter going to fight out with Paul Venter, or is he going to just wait that little bit more? He's been closing the distance little by little by little, and the lap times are a show for this because Sean Skitter's last lap time was a bit slower behind Paul Venter. However, he has closed that distance up dramatically from sitting at 2.8 now to 0.8 of a second. If he tries to go for the pass, he can compromise Paul Venter to allow Ricky a little bit closer and allow Henry Platt. Or Paul Venter can do a bit of a switcheroo, allow Sean Skitter to go ahead and get pulled along through the fight as well. So a bit of an interesting play there. Henry Platt onto the back of Ricky Buckler at the moment and is closing 1.8 seconds between the two of them as they fight it out. It is turning into just an absolute brawl. Wherever you look through the field, we have got moments. Lewis Knight, who leads out for the gold, has just lost the car. He's now trying to get retake back and breaks himself towards the corkscrew, runs out very wide. He's able to snatch it back, but that has cost him time. And David Roth is now trying to see where he can get past. Try and see if he can make up a little bit of a run. But that has brought Patrick and Ulrich Diago a little bit closer. Paul Venter swaps around with Sean Skitter, who now checks out of the fight. He says, right, I've got Ruan Heineke to chase down. He's 8 seconds up the road from you. You're either going to utilize the tow, or guess what? You're going to have Ricky and you're going to have Henry Platt now on the tail of you. You've got 4 minutes to cope with it. Who has got the running at the moment? But it is just wild, wild, wild racing all the way through. Richard Van Heert and Paulus going and chasing each other down as well. They trying to do a little bit more of a run. Henry Platt getting past the likes of Ricky at the moment as Ricky fell off circuit but now needs to fight back. He was in second place. Platt, who is third in the championship, fighting out with Ricky, who's second in the championship. They have now swapped on track, and now it is going to be a run for Henry Platt. For 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I don't think any of these drivers are going to be taking a breath. Any of these drivers are going to be saying, all right, I'm in a calm situation right now, because Paul Venter looks at his mirror 4 seconds back and sees second and third closing up on him, and he has still got another 3 laps left of running. Christoph Peterson looking to take the way from Ernest Limburgs, as we do see that is a real job mining out of the way for the drivers to get on the way through. So, and a big lunge coming in from Rich Van Heert. Oh, contact against Paulus. A little bit of an Evo situation there. And oh no! Big mistake coming in. Richard and Paulus catching one another. Oh, and contact as Richard looked to his mirror to see Paulus in the door and had the likes of Skitter get on by. And that was nearly even Paul Venter getting caught out. Paulus is able to get going, but not the way he wanted to have his race. There's down to Benjamin Till, and now has Chris Wall coming, marching on by to see where it goes. So the fights are getting a bit rough out there. Drivers are pushing a bit hard. They're trying to do everything they can. Peterson on the back of Limburgs, and now this is elbows out racing as Lewis Knight, the leader of the gold division, will see first and second of Diamond and overall leaders closing up at a rate of knots. He can't back off because Patrick and Ulrich Diaga are trying to make up time to him. And if he lifts a little bit too much, allows these two to throw him off circuit, We have seen drivers tank it into the wall. It's 17 degrees out there. Drivers are tired. They're starting to feel the extreme fatigue, the mental fatigue of trying to concentrate in the dark is starting to show its effect. And drivers are having to really think about what is the big game plan here. It's taking that moment, taking that breath, as now our leaders heading down to the wire. Lewis sees them, will look to move to the inside line, off the racing line, possibly to allow the drivers to go through, or he is now just going to keep his foot flat, much to the dismay of Limburgs, who's going to come around. They're not on their final lap as yet, and the drivers are going to be continuing their way forward. This is going into a bit of a deathmatch situation. This is a 1v1 for position, as Ricky and Henry Platt are in the exact same boat. They're running a 1v1 at the moment. Rich Van Heed, who separates them at the moment. Richard will be getting told by the Project Vapor team, hey, listen, you do have Ricky on you. Don't put too much of a fight here. Henry Platt's going to be telling him a little bit different of, please put the fight. Please ensure that you do it. And Ricky down the inside, not a lot of room there. And Richard having a little bit of contact. Ricky assumed Richard was going to open up the door. And a little bit far back there, Ricky. A little too far back there to try and go for that pass. Optimistic, but you've got to keep an eye on the distance. Maybe closing up that little bit of distance could make a difference. But Ricky getting a little bit squashed up against the wall. And that landed up costing Richard a little bit of time as well. Now on for our leaders. 9 seconds to go. And it looks like we are going to be a mad dash to the line. 3, 2, 1. And it is going to be a big run through. And it is Limburgs across the line with Peterson in second place. Limburgs held it all the way through to the end. Peterson takes second place. Chased it down. 0.3 of a second when they came across the line. Stephen Milana James takes third place of the Diamond Division with Jason Farmer in fourth. Beggar Krobler followed by Ruin Heineke. Finally gets his top 10. Finally, this season, Ruin Heineke finishes in the top 10 after a nightmare run so far in the season. He's broken the streak. Lewis Knight takes victory in the gold division with Patrick Bell's second place in gold, with Ulrich de Jager going and taking third place of the gold division. It is going to be huge smiles on the face there for our drivers. Paul Fenter takes victory of the platinum with Henry Platt in second place, and Ricky Buckler taking third place in the platinum. Griffin Sim Racing team getting 2 out of 3 classes on the podium. Richard giving a little bit of a knock on the rear there, saying, hey, listen, bud, we felt that. That one hurt. That one was there. Jason Farmer narrowly missed out to make it. All 3 of the Griffin Sim Racing team onto the podium run here at the beautiful circuit of Laguna Seca. Well, folks, don't know about you. I am out of breath on that one. Wow, oh wow. Some impressive racing out there. Drivers giving it their all. Drivers going and really showing what they can do. And what a race. That's all I could say. What a race. It was just up and down. It was exciting. It kept us busy. It kept us wondering. It kept us figuring out what was the big plans coming into it, and drivers having to think outside the box. Round 5 has taken the championship and twisted it a bit further. When you think you know what's going on, guess what? You don't, because that has been an incredibly close run, and unfortunately for some it's a championship hurt of note. For others, this has become a big situation to move forward in. And we're going to have a chat to the drivers, and honestly, great to see. Now, we do have a message from Henry Platt, who came second in for the Platinums. Unfortunately, he can't have a chat to us this evening. There is people around the house and busy sleeping, so he does go and say thank you very much to all our driving. Incredible racing, was lots and lots of fun. Ricky had me on the ropes. It was definitely wiping the sweat on the brow. good to see it. Looking forward to the rest of the championship as well. So great run there. The Logistical Nightmare Racing team having a great run as well. So well done to Henry Platt. But let's go and talk to first place of the Logistical Nightmare Racing team and first place of our Platinum. Let's have a chat to Paul Fenter to come and talk to us here. So as we get the mic on Paul Fenter, welcome to the commentary box. Not too long ago, you and I were having a conversation of how is this championship gonna go, and a victory at Laguna Seca is one that you're confident with, but at the same time has been a circuit that you've had the most prangs in through your racing career, but now taking a victory in the Platinum field. How are you feeling?
Yeah, no, geez, I feel like long overdue for the season, man. Jeez, finally, stay out of trouble, don't kill someone, don't get killed, and kabang, top 3, here we go. But yeah, great feeling, but I was stressing there at the end because I think I abused the tires too much, and I literally just ran out of grip, and I was just watching Henry crawling his way closer, and when that final lap sign came up, I was like, oh, thank goodness.
Now, I gotta ask you, your run at the start, ice cold temperatures, dark, you're in the middle of the field here, you've got Henry Platt at you, you saw what Miles Stone was able to do with his times, Chris Wall, your teammate, unfortunately getting involved in a little bit of a tangle as well. What was going through your mind from turn 1, turn 2, into turn 3, with just being in the middle and cars going 3-4 cars wide around you?
Honestly, I was just hoping that I don't die. And when I saw, I think it was Lewis, did a half dive, I kind of held my breath and just hoped that Lewis wouldn't touch me. And when I made it through turn 3, 4, I was like, okay, now we just got to get through corkscrew, and if we survive that, race is on, So yeah, that I was stressed, and then after that, I just kind of held the gap to Henry at about 5 seconds, I think. I was happy just keeping it there because I knew he had the time penalty, so I was like, I can take tires and still just be ahead of him. And then I kept an eye on the gap going back to Stone behind me. So I was like, yeah, happy days. This strategy might work out. But then I think it was just after the pit stop, Sousa, I don't know, got tangled up at the corkscrew. And as I arrived, this man is standing sideways. I think I sounded like a chick that was squeezing something she wasn't supposed to be squeezing the way I was squealing. And Skitty was laughing his backside off at me and said to me, was that a bit close? And I was like, dude, you have no idea how close that was.
Oh, Henry Platt had a similar moment as well, where Rafa landed up nearly taking him clean out of the race as well. So it seemed like it was interesting all the way through. But now, Laguna Seca done, round 5 out of the way, game plan for the last 2 rounds. Now that you've finally broken that streak, you're sitting 10th in the championship. A victory here tonight will move you further up. But there's 2 more races to go. What's your game plan moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, Donington, I know I suck at Donington, so Donington's probably going to be terrible for me. But yeah, the idea is if I can just, if I can just finish in the top 4, I'd be happy. That's just been the goal for the season. But with all the takeouts at this point, I would just be happy if the last 2 rounds is a bit uneventful and I just grab somewhere in the top 4, top 5. I'd be reasonably happy with that. So yeah, that's kind of just the aim and having fun and not dying, especially when the mountain comes up at the end of the season. I don't think I've completed a race at the mountain in over a year. So yeah, two races where it's definitely going to test my mettle to make sure I finish.
That being said, Paul, anyone you want to give a shout out to out in the virtual grandstands, to the admins, to the partners here at ERA, to the drivers and the teams that you got to compete with throughout the season thus far?
Yeah, man, just as always, thanks to the admin guys, and thanks to the community just for having us and hosting us, and dealing with all of us prima donnas complaining and moaning and groaning. Yeah, thanks to everyone for putting on the show, and to all the drivers that rock up to race. I think it was reasonably clean, so yeah, let's have more of that fun. And then, as always, thanks to you for staying up with us till about 11 o'clock at night streaming. So yeah, thanks to everyone.
Well, Chris Wall, putting in that you are 6th in the championship. So I guess you've got to go and have a chat to Chris Wall, fight with you. I've alluded back that we go back about 3 championships back to
Work that one out.
It's going to be epic, and then once you take a championship, it's legendary. How's that?
Working together because we're competitors in ERA and we both want to win. So yeah, I wasn't sure what he was gonna do. Like, I committed to this strategy of going long on used tires because I didn't want to risk falling behind Ernest or maybe even another car. I wasn't sure like how well I would start. And then like when I came out P1 after the first sector, I was like, for a little while I was regretting doing that strat, because I think I had the pace to outdrive the 10 seconds actually today, because he also had like some internet problems that made some boards disappear. He's probably going to tell you about it very soon. So he didn't reach his like full pace, I think, throughout the race, and that gave me a little bit more of an advantage in that first stint. But my eyes were really only on Steven Molano James, because he was behind, and for the most part he was like 6 seconds or something behind me, and I was really hoping that I would come to 10 seconds before I pit, and I think he made a mistake then very late in the first stint that helped me get those 10 seconds. And I also like jumped Jason, who made a lot of places while after pitting early, so yeah, I was really happy about that too.
Well, now the pressure starting to come in, something you know very well. 2 rounds left, game plan. What's going to be going through heading into the final 2 rounds? And before you answer that one, you did get the fastest lap time, which means you scored an extra point. But you're making this rather a bit of a habit at the moment, because Chris Walt working out the points, you're still leading as a positive. You're still leading in points, but only by 3 against Limburgs. The last time we saw this close between the two of you, it came down to the final race, and it was all or nothing between the two of you. And unfortunately, Limburgs didn't quite get the upper hand. But do you feel that the pressure's on now, and possibly that crown might be removed?
Yeah, of course, the pressure is on all season, and don't count out Rafa Souza. He's in there. He had to take his drop round this race. I don't know what happened. Or supporting the league and everyone involved in the league, as always. Like everyone, I'm super happy about this.
Misjudged how good the tires were gonna hold up, and I put in a little bit less fuel at the start. Now seeing...
And the conditions unknown.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably my best season so far. I've been mostly mistakeless. It's like I haven't been making any massive mistakes that end my race. Like on this slowly dying game. Thanks for the organizers that still host this. Thanks to you, Steven, for commentating on here. And yeah, I mean, the Souza and Peterson, bring it on. We'll fight till the very end. Still have drop rounds to do. Still have a lot of pace in us. Still have the fight in all 3 of us, so it's gonna be exciting, I think.
It's definitely.
And I hope that they bring their best as well.
I think it's gonna be a good one, and I know there is quite a few people out there cheering you on and willing to see you go and finally take the crown away. And Rafa gonna be doing exactly the same. Peterson has gotten comfy on the crown and on the top of the throne, but the question is, can he hold it against his long-term rivals? Dennis Limburgs, thank you so much for joining us. Absolutely wonderful to have you, and we're looking forward to seeing you racing next weekend at Donington.
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw. Absolutely love it. Folks, It has been an incredible evening. We have seen some new names to the top. We have seen some new fights revitalized. We've got the championship fights incredibly close amongst drivers, and it is coming down to the wire to see who's going to be holding the top step. This is going to be an incredible run. And I do want to point out that thus far, Sebastian, Ricky, and Henry Platt have all used their drop round, scoring 0 points. Sebastian having the failure tonight. Ricky having the failure at Spa, and Suzuka for Henry Platt. All three lifelines are out the running, and it's now a straight shootout to the end to see who is going to be staying at the top come the end of the championship for the Platinum. So, if you go and put in how the points look, Sebastian, Ricky, Henry Platt are all within a shot of one another. It is going to be close. It's going to be fierce for our Platinum. Our Gold at the moment, Lewis Knight, 11 points away from David Young and Rich Van Heat. So he's got a little bit of clearance there to work with. And Christoph Peterson, 3 points separate him from Limburgs, 2 points from the likes of Rafa and Limburgs. So this is going to be a very, very close fight. We're heading in towards our final rounds. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that bell notification icon. Folks, if you want to join us here at ERA, go down to the description, join us in the Discord, and sign up for our championships. Also, we have got a endurance race planned later this year out on SimGrid. Go to Evolution Racing Academy, sign up for our charity endurance race. The Drive for Dean coming back yet again this year in May, and you definitely want to be a part of it as we're looking to make history yet again for the Drive for Dean. However, folks, it's been an absolutely incredible one. It's been an exciting one. I'm going to go and get some fresh air because, man, oh man, I have seen some incredible racing and incredible cheering, but it's not over as yet, and it's going to be a great one. Make sure that you are at Donington, and make sure you bring a coat. It's going to be rather frigid out there, and that is going to spice up the race. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, a big shout out to ERA, everyone working in the background. Shout out to the drivers and teams, and also to Tim on the cameras, Jim on the flags, and the biggest shout out goes to you, absolute legendary mythics. You are our incredible petrol heads out on the virtual grandstands. We absolutely love it with you going and sharing all the stuff around, letting us know how it feels, and we look forward to hearing from you all in due course for next weekend at Donington. My name is Stephen Koenig, and like always, I'd like to say a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.